As Singapore tech startups can now accelerate their entry into Sweden and the Nordic region through a new Global Innovation Alliance node in Stockholm. For more on this and how it works, I speak to Bernice Tay, Director for Global Innovation Network at Enterprise Singapore, and Raghav Narayan, co-founder and CEO of Aprisium, a Singapore deep tech startup in water treatment. Thank you both for joining us tonight. Ms. Tay, let's start with you. Tell us more about the role of a Global Innovation Alliance node.
The Global Innovation Alliance was set up to bridge our startups into key markets and innovation hubs around the world because we realized they need that platform to scale their solutions into the world stage. And given the size of our market, they really need help to access these market opportunities. It's very challenging for a startup to do it on its own, especially in finding quality connections and networks. That's where the Global Innovation Alliance can come in because through our overseas centers and our networks, we curate and appoint partners that can really help startups validate their product market fit, really quickly acquire their first customer or investor, and then lastly, take their IP out of the lab and test it or scale it in the real-world environment.
We know that Singapore has 24 GI nodes around the world, with Stockholm being the latest. Tell us what's special, what's different about the GIA node in Stockholm?
Well, every node has its unique opportunities and challenges. For Stockholm, because we were very focused on really quickening customer acquisition, the partnership will actually enable our startups to really access Swedish corporates like Arla Foods, which is a dairy MNC, or even H&M. And they will give startups the opportunity to pitch their solutions to these corporates with the view of them securing pilots or even sales opportunities in the longer term.
All right, and Mr. Narayan, you are working with Nordic partners. Tell us a bit about your startup and your work with water treatment. How do you get started?
Yeah, so water is most precious, right? We all know that. So Aprisium is a deep tech startup in the water space. What we do is test and monitor contaminants in water real time at source. As again sending it to a lab and waiting for results and hoping everything is fine, we do it at site and give insights right then and there autonomously. So that's a huge advantage for water companies to manage their contamination and also improve their process efficiencies.
What were some of the challenges that you faced on this journey?
Yes, the technology itself is deep tech, as you're aware. So this means it involves a multitude of technologies which go into the product. And we also have a unique business model, which is more of a subscription base with no capex. It makes it very attractive to some of the customers. But more importantly, I suppose the need for monitoring real time is such a huge advantage that we've actually been quite well embraced by the customers and partners worldwide, especially in the Nordics, where we are trying to make our inroads in there. And it's so far been quite a good journey for us.
The GIA node is really an initiative to open doors for young firms like Aprisium to fast track their growth overseas. So how does Enterprise SG aim to support our local startups with the GIA node ecosystem? I mean, especially the one in Stockholm.
Sweden and Singapore actually share a lot of similarities, and in our focus for R&D, for example, we share synergies in sustainability, supply chain, AI, and I talked a lot about market access, but the strength of the Swedish ecosystem, the strength of their innovation infrastructure also gives our startups access to the richness of the ecosystem, the research institutions, the universities, the technical and engineering expertise that will also help them potentially co-innovate, create R&D solutions that would have impact beyond Singapore and Sweden to the world. So we do think that because of these synergies and also some of the constraints that we face as small nations with resource constraints, I think that also creates more opportunities for collaboration.
And where does innovation and collaboration come in then?
A lot of times companies can also undertake co-innovation projects. So governments, we actually have partnerships with different governments around the world that support these co-innovation. So I think bridging our startups into ecosystems as strong as Sweden also really expedites and accelerates those kinds of opportunities as well.
Is there a certain criteria for companies to be accepted into this alliance?
Well, for the Stockholm program, because it is corporate demand-driven, meaning that we do take on board problem statements from the corporates, I think we're also quite targeted in the kinds of solutions that they are looking for.
Sure.
And so if the solution matches that problem statement, I think we're more than open to have the startup join the program.
Okay, and Mr. Narayan, as a startup, how has the GIA node helped you to grow and expand your business?
Yeah, the GIA node is really helpful for us. For a startup, all support is more than welcome, right? And when we're going afar, like in the Nordic countries, where we are trying to commercialize in terms of either Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, I think the most important thing is finding partners.
Okay.
Partnership gives us a direct leverage into the market in terms of understanding the culture, the network, the landscape, the regulatory landscape. Europe is quite high on regulatory needs, so in terms of support on that. And then most importantly, get our business development going as well. So there are multiple benefits, and therefore, be it partnerships, or be it finding corporate networks, or even financial support. The GIA node also supports us financially for some of initial proof of concept. When we want to do our product initial tests in some of the customer sites, there's also financial support. So all of this helps us a lot when we go into a new market.
Earlier, you were talking about one of the challenges that you faced is the need for monitoring. Has this also helped you in that aspect?
Absolutely. So I'll give an example. There is something called as forever chemicals today. It's called PFAS. And forever chemicals obviously are called forever because they can't be destroyed, and they are forever in our ecosystem. And the Nordics are highly focused on monitoring this. And this is extremely complex to monitor. And sending a sample to a lab can take a couple of months. And what we have done today is we have just patenting our solution, which can detect PFAS and monitor it at site, at source in less than an hour, as against a couple of months. So that's a real game changer for treating that so that you know what's in there.
Sped up the process.
Exactly.
Ms. Tay, wrapping up this discussion, what's been Enterprise SG experience so far with the other GIA nodes?
I think our success outcomes, I would say, have been healthy. Obviously, we always want to see better improvements to the market outcomes. But we are aware that startups, they do face a lot of challenges as they scale in markets. And the pathway to success is neither linear nor guaranteed. We would say that even if they were not able to secure a market success outcome, we do hope that they walk away with stronger knowledge and also networks that they can take on board and maybe refine and reshape their strategy for the next market.
All right, thank you both for joining us tonight in the studio. That was Bernice Tay, Director for Global Innovation Network, Enterprise Singapore, and Raghav Narayan, CEO of Aprisium, a Singapore deep tech startup.